The project we'll be building in this video and the MGC Ben Heck 2024 Gamebadge Workshop is sponsored by PCBWay. You've heard everyone else on YouTube talk about PCBWay. Now it's my turn. Well, you probably know by now, but PCBWay is a way to get circuit boards made. Yes, you can go on their website and put in your Gerbers or whatever other files you have and get circuit boards quoted and sent to you. And the turnaround time is actually quite fast if you ask for that specific service. In my case, what I did was PCB prototyping. So I'm not just getting PCBs made, they're populating them with parts. So we did this workshop in the past and we had people soldering on tiny little surface mount resistors. And the idea was to teach surface mount soldering, but I thought that was a bit much. So I asked PCBWay if they would help us out with this, and they did. So not only did they make the circuit boards for this project, but they stuffed all of the small passive components on the boards, and then they shipped them off to me in record time. So now the people doing the workshop can do it more quickly. So yes, go to PCBWay.com, use the link below in the video description, and get started on your own amazing project today.
I finally made it as a YouTuber. I'm making a video sponsored by PCBWay. Let's flip this right side up. There you go. The box is upside down so I don't dox myself. Yes, so this just came in from China. This is actually my first time getting parts stuffed by PCBWay. Let's take a look. So this is going to be the Gamebadge version 4, which is basically version 3 from 2023, but with an SD card slot added so it can do emulation. I believe these are panelized. That's weird. They got some at the bottom too. So again, all right. So this video is, well, I should say this project is sponsored by PCBWay. They did all of this at no charge. So thank you very much to PCBWay. This will be a great boon for the project that we're doing. It's a project about surface mount soldering. And we've done this workshop, this will be the 4th year in a row. And the last one that we did, we wanted to increase the number of people, but we also wanted to make sure it could be done on time. So we did 2 sessions of 20 people each for a total of 40 people. And the sessions, I believe, were like 4 hours long. But even that was kind of pushing it. So, well, let's take a look. Max just left. He was over helping with the audio video stuff, like doing some polish on Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You know, Max from the Ben Heck show. He still works for Backflip Film, so he still does video production. So when I want a discerning eye, I talk to Max. These must be the spare ones. Everything looks like it's done with mouse bites, so... Oh yeah, easy to break apart. Alright, so these aren't populated. But I guess I got some extra ones, so that's good. I took all my remaining boards to the Vintage Computer Festival last year. That was September of 2023, and people took every single one of them. So these, okay, these are the populated ones. So I asked for an even 100, so we should have extra of these to do giveaways at future shows, all sponsored by PCBWay, and thank you very much. So yeah, the idea here was, I mean, I've ordered circuit boards from PCBWay before, but I haven't done the assembly. Now you might be looking at this and saying, what assembly? Well, they did the surface mount components. So when we were doing like the class, we were having to hand out these surface mount resistors and capacitors, and it was kind of a pain. So by doing this, we will hopefully speed things up. I do see one possible negative in that there's solder leveling on a lot of the pads. Well, it could be a boon or a bust. I guess we'll find out. And then I also had them surface mount solder the charge controller. So I figured they would have all the passives, you know, in-house. And then I got them the LCSC part number for the regulator. LCSC being like the Chinese DigiKey, air quotes. According to the data sheet, this regulator should be pretty much exactly the same as the one we used before. The main difference being that I think it can accept a slightly higher voltage LiPo. Bud, are you a riff-raff street cat? No? Are you saying that I should look closer? Hey, Bud. I can show you some greenies. Green, delicious, and crunchy. Alright, I'm going to use a piece of double-sided tape here. Line it up. And clunk. The first thing and the main thing I want to test is the charge controller. I mean, it should work. It's almost exactly the same model, but you never know. Oh, I should probably say this is the first time I have ever ordered pre-stuffed boards from China. My friend Jesse Robinson has done it before, and I got some advice from him. He was like, oh, well, you should do this, 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 and this. And I was like, well, you are a far better engineer than I am. So I trust you. Just like when Aladdin was like, do you trust me? I don't know why I was thinking about Aladdin just now. Oh, I remember why. It's because Max and I were talking about when we would do the show. Oh, I probably shouldn't have made that via so close there. When we were doing the show, we would always, like, between takes, we'd, like, come up with, like, all these movie ideas. We had, like, Roadhouse Generations, and one of them was we were coming up with our own plot for, like, a Disney movie. Like a 1990s Disney movie. So how this works is there's a pin you can tie low on the Pi, which disables its internal 3.3 volt regulator. And then on this board, I add a separate 3.3 volt regulator. That allows me to control all the power on the board, and that so I can have a power switch and whatnot. So that's why I do that. And you probably could just use the regulator on the Pi Pico itself. However, I wanted to use a regulator that I knew had enough power. There's a couple vias that are like, I'm sure the vias that are close to the pads are also the same as the pads, but it's like with LEDs, I like to drop them in, then put them like this. That way you push them fairly close to being flush. Then just hit one at a time, then lift it up, and then heat up that one, push it flat, let go, heat up the one, push it flat, let go, and then you do the other one. We came up with this whole plot for like a Disney movie. Although it was pretty much just a ripoff of Anastasia and the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Anyway, the name of the movie was going to be Secret Princess. The plot is probably pretty obvious. It's about a secret princess. So that way people, like every movie Disney makes nowadays, like, you ever notice they won't give movies, everything has to be like one word, like Wish, Frozen, Moana. It's like Moana was good, but it didn't make as much money at the start because it's like, what the heck is this movie even about? Like, who knows? Like, I mean, once you watch the movie, you know what it's about, but like from the trailers, it's like, what is this movie about? But Secret Princess, it's obvious what the movie's about. Secret Princess, there, done. Easy. It's a trope. All right, so this is the same quadcopter battery that we used in the last one I got. Actually, I think they're on my front porch right now. You know, if Amazon's going to spy on you all the time, like right now, Amazon should be like, there should be a bunch of snow around Ben's house. And the weather is cold. And it might snow again. I should remind him over and over that there is a package on his front porch. See, that would be actually kind of useful. Do you ever, like, you know, you leave your house and then you come back and then, like, you look at, like, your front porch and you're like, oh, crap, there's, like, there was something on the porch the whole time. I didn't notice it for, like, a day. And then you kind of feel guilty. So for the workshop, I would obviously tell people to do the battery last, but in this case, I want to make sure that since a charger is the unknown variable for me, I want to make sure that I want to test that first. Well, I hope I got these right, 'cause I don't know, be like, oh yeah, could I get more free boards? I screwed the old ones up, and then it'd be like, you know, a dial tone sound effect, even though that Doesn't apply in today's world. Like, click read. Hello? Hello? Let's see. Hopefully this... Yeah, there is like solder where these pads are supposed to be. Hopefully that's not going to be a huge issue. I mean, it might actually make it a little easier to solder, although it might not be as flat. Yeah, apply. Oh yeah, because you just heat up what's already there. Oh yeah, it's a feature. We planned it this way. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, how'd you like to buy this bridge? Okay, the battery is at 4.0059 volts. The biggest thing with LiPos is you have to be cautious with them because they are very powerful. Okay. I guess I can put the regulator in place too. Don't you dare close your eyes. Hold your breath, I just farted. I'll take you anywhere. Da, 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 da. You know what it was? I think I saw like a video and they're talking about the Aladdin game on the Sega Genesis. It might have been like it's a guy's named Sega Lord X video. That's a good channel. That was like the game where you could be like, hey, look, Super Nintendo owners, Sega is better. What kind of Aladdin game are you going to play? You're going to play Wish.com, Prince of Persia, or Aladdin? Ugh, Bud was being bad and trying to climb up something. Alright, if I plug this in, the charge LED should come on. There we go. Alright, I'll let it sit for a few minutes and we'll see what it gets up to. I had to replace the green LED. It wasn't working. Like a whole batch of bad green LEDs. It's crazy. Alright, so a big difference with this version is that there's an SD card reader on it, which allows the emulator to work. We moved a few pins around to make it work. Basically changed some of the audio pins for the Gamebadge version of it. So it's not entirely 100% compatible with the last one. Like, you need to have a define if you're going to play like the Bud game. So I put some double-sided tape on the back of this. So this is like a bog standard SD card reader from Amazon. It's like 90 cents. And there's actually, I've run into many projects that use this same pin out, so I think this is a pretty safe generic reader to use. So I put a header through it to make sure it's where it needs to be. Kind of thread the needle there with that tack switch. It should work out though. Just make sure we don't hit the tack switch. See, I thought you were trying to make this project easier. Oh, it'll be fine. Coming from the side, come on. Happy little clouds. Oh no! That's not what you want to have happen. I should remember to do that on purpose during the class so I can show people how to fix it. Like that. Yeah, this SD card reader was kind of an 11th hour addition by Ken, but I was like, I think I can make it fit somehow. And this is what I came up with. Oh yeah, and the pins, see, they're flush with the battery, so it's all good to go. Alright, next is the audio amplifier. I probably could have simplified this part. Or just replaced it with like a transistor. But I know this works. A circuit that works is worth two in the bush or something. So remember, a big part of surface mount soldering, which I say over and over and over and over again, is it's not necessarily about being accurate, it's about just making sure that you've cleaned up. So you can use the surface tension of the solder to your advantage to pull it right off, like magic. Oh! And the solder on these pads, hopefully it's not too much of a hindrance. Well, at least it wasn't on the Raspberry Pi section. I probably could have taken steps to avoid this, but I didn't know the right thing to say. What can I do? What can I say? to turn your angel eyes my way. Noobs do surface mount soldering. Like a lot of times the part will be hanging in midair anyway. I mean, really, probably the best way would be to pre-tin it like that and then apply a little bit more pressure. As you can see, it goes down there. See, that one didn't really make a good connection. So that's a danger too. Like, well, that happens with any soldering. Like, something might look like it's been soldered, but it actually hasn't been soldered, because you're blobbing a bunch of solder, like in this case, on the top of the pin, but you're not affecting anything under the pin. So it's like you've masked it. Like, oh, I see a big blob of solder, it must be connected. I was also thinking about getting like a directional joystick assembly for this, but those are like really expensive, like $4, which is a lot of money when it comes to something like that. I did get the 100 GF switches, so they're a lot lighter to push, so that'll be nice. And I won't forget the tack switches like last time, I promise. All right. Yeah, I would say for me it was a little harder to put those tack switches on there, because you've got like these lumps of solder, so it's like you're setting a 2x4 on a molehill versus like a flat piece. I don't know, maybe other people will find it easier because, like, oh, there's already solder there. Maybe? I don't know. Yeah. Oh, these things are like, I don't know why these things are getting harder to find. Yeah, Ken made some risers last year. I actually moved those two resistors a little bit to the right so that we wouldn't have to remove the other plastic connector. That way we could just set it down straight. I don't know, I mean, I kind of like I kind of like doing whatever's the simplest possible thing. Yeah, the problem is there's not really enough room for a header, or enough height for a header. That's the issue with this. But we could put screws directly in, because I think, does this come with extra screws? I'm not sure if it does. I think I bought a bunch, like really short metric screws. So I just like to, yeah, because I'm running out of hands here. So I grab some solder and I bring it over. Just, that V is kind of close too. Yeah, just get enough solder on there to hold it in place, like on both ends, and then you can go in and do a better job of soldering, or a proper job, like right now, where it's like, oh yes, I'm bringing the three things together. Come on. Why are you resisting? Resistance is futile. I hate this. Would you like some more? Yes, please. Then we have to get the top. Leave the splatter shield on the LCD until after you do this part. In fact, leave it on until after you know everything works. All right, let's look at the back half of the case before we actually program this. So I made a new design. It's got some issues. This is just my prototype. But the idea is we want a door so you can get the SD card. And then I redid the reset and program buttons a little bit, just so I could print them in one piece and set them in. And I forgot to put the post here, but there'll be a post and you can just hit that with your soldering iron. Yeah, so this is the door. I'm not sure, is that gonna be flexible enough? Might need a little bit more of a gap here. Yeah, maybe just a little bit more of a gap. So the idea is this should snap into this. At least that's what it's supposed to do. I might need a little bit more tolerance on that. And then this should have a snap latch there. I designed this to come apart. It looks like that probably needs a little bit more slope. Alright, so let's put the buttons in place. And pets love it too. So I think I'll have a front half to this year, just so I can have the case be complete, because we have mounting screws here that are recessed in the back. So the idea is, oh, there we go. Oh, that's not bad. Yeah, it takes a little too much force to put it in place. I made a mistake with my case design. I forgot to add the USB port. Well, anyway, I also wanted to change a few other things, but this will work for now. So while that prints, I'm going to show you how to load this up. Now, this is going to boot already because I've already tested it, but we'll just go through the process again. So when you plug it in, it's not on, but the charge controller is charging. So there's your charge light and there's your power light. So you have to turn it on so that it can be accessed by USB. All right, so let's go to the computer and see how this is done.
All right, so we have the GitHub here. So this is Gamebadge 3. I don't know what ever happened to Gamebadge 2. This is the new PCB, so this is the one that PCBWay made, 2024 edition. So the main thing that changed was we added an SD card slot, and then we had to move around a few other things, so we had access to a SPI bus. So that's why two of the audio lines changed. So we're going to go into code. So the first thing you're going to need to do, if you haven't done this before, is go into the Arduino libraries, and there's 3 of them here. The README will tell you what to do, but I'll just redundantly tell you as well. So you copy these, and then you go into your libraries folder, and, well, okay, so it's, well, on PC, it's Documents, Arduino, and then Libraries. So we've got the Pico library, Game Boy Audio, and then Pico ST7789. Ignore that one. So those are the 3 you need in order for this to work. And then what you do is well, let's say you want to install the Bud game. The first thing you do is you go to, well, actually the first thing you do is you have to prepare the Pico. So I've got the code here for the game, but we don't need that yet. So let's close that. Okay, I'm back. So the first thing you need to do is go to SD-FAT format. This is an Adafruit thing. Load this. There we go. And you're going to need the Adafruit SPI library, so you might have to install that. Again, just check the README, but let's see if we can... Arduino just needs to be like rewritten from the ground up. They're like, oh, this is all new. And yeah, sure it is. Now, when you're doing stuff with the Gamebadge, you have to have certain things set. So obviously, it's a Raspberry Pi Pico. You can select either Pi Pico or Pi W. It actually doesn't matter. So I have these W's because I got a bunch of free ones from Spooky. I do Pi Pico, that way it doesn't install libraries you don't need since we're not using the Wi-Fi. I tried to use the Wi-Fi, but A, it was causing performance issues, and B, I didn't have time to ever implement it in the game, and I still haven't, so I'm just going to do Pi Pico. And then, let's see, file size. So it's got a 2 megabyte flash on the chip. So we're going to use 1 megabyte of that for the sketch, aka the code, and 1 megabyte for the file system, which will hold the graphics and sound and stuff. CPU speed has to be 125 megahertz, not 133, which is the default. The reason for that is how the SPI bus works with the LCD screen. We have to do, because the SPI bus is half of the main frequency, so that ends up being, 62.5 megahertz. If you go even a little bit faster, it's a little too fast for the screen. All right, so the other one you need is, you have to do Adafruit Tiny USB, not Pico STK. So you have to set this as the USB. And everything else shouldn't matter. You can just use the defaults. Of course, we have our port here. All right, so when we run this, I believe what it's going to do is it's going to format the flash and then erase it. So you're going to run the SD-FAT format program. Yeah, see this part right here? Serial begin, wall, not serial delay. This is going to make the program wait until a serial terminal is opened. I'll just edit this part out. Man, that took forever. All right, so now after we run the program, hit the serial Done. So now what you can do, you can also run the program. You don't have to do this, but you can. The MSC external flash, and this will turn it into a thumb drive. So you could do this if you wanted to test it. Yeah, actually, let's do it. Oh, that one opened in the new Arduino. Well, it should still work. Oh, something else. If you haven't programmed your Pi before, it's not going to show up as a USB port. It's going to show up as a UF2 bootloader flash. So for instance, like if I took this thing right now, so I'm going to, I suppose I should film this. All right, I'm turning on my camera. That means there's going to be footage. I'll just pull it out. There we go. Yeah, so if you hold the program button, tap reset, now it's going to boot up in UF2 bootloader mode. So on the computer, it will show up as a drive. So you can drag UF2 files right into this drive and it'll program it. But we want to turn this into a mass storage device. So that's what this is for. So now there's no longer a port. Now it's a UF2 board, but it'll still work. So I'm going to upload this and then it should appear as a thumb drive on the computer. Please wait 10 years for compilation of Arduino sketch. What if I purposefully hit the reset button? But what you can also do, you can also load the Bud game directly, and then the Bud game has just enough flash to put text on the screen that says I have no files, and then you can load the USB file. So let's do it that way. So let's get the game up. Now this is the 2023 version, so see how I've got two things here? There's Gamebadge 3 in it, and then there's Gamebadge 3B in it. So 3B is the one with the SD card. So if you for some reason made the old version, or if you had the old one, the old circuit board, you would do this, and that way you do this in it. But when you do 3B in it, it will swap. It'll add SD card support, and it'll swap two of the audio lines to move them away from the SD card, so you don't lose your 5-channel Nintendo audio, or however many channels it was. I think it was 5. These should all be right. The COM port's still there. All right. So yeah, so our Bud files are probably erased, but this should allow us to flash the game. But we'll flash the game code, and then we'll have to add the files manually. So while that takes forever, let's see, Gamebadge 3, code, sample games. So there's the Bud game itself, Catskillvania, Condo of Bud, and then the assets. So really all you do is, well, these are the assets they use to make the game. So you need flash MSD contents. Contents. You need flash MSD mass storage device contents. So basically we'll copy all of this into the root of that flash card once it instantiates itself. And this is what the Bud game will show if the code is present, but the files aren't on the USB drive. All right, so let's grab these files. Copy. Okay, now the flash is there. Paste it. It's kind of slow. So in the game itself, well, it's mostly for dev purposes, but I had a menu so you can quote unquote pause the game, and then that's when you should dump the USB files over. But obviously the game's not running yet. Because yeah, the mass storage device takes up a lot of resources, so it will conflict with the DMA. It won't stop it from working, but it might make the screen look garbled, and it will be slower. So yes. That's not a problem because the game hasn't started yet. Because you can't start because there's no data. I guess we're just going to do this in real time. Man, 25 seconds. Yes, all my condo files. I think it was last year I made, well, it was way, way late, but it was like Gamebadge 3 Part 3. So if you want to know more about how the game was made, I would suggest you watch one of those old videos, because this video is just about this particular version. All right, the files are present, so if we reboot this, we should see the game. There it is. And now we can see the condo. The condo? Now we can see the external flash is quite full, though. 257 kilobytes free. Back in the old days, that was like 1 million kilobytes. As far as the emulation goes, I didn't do that. Ken did that, so I guess you're going to have to watch one of his videos for that. But yeah, for the Gamebadge part, everything should be on my GitHub under Gamebadge. So you got the casing. So I've arranged this now. So we've got, this is the case that we had last year, 2023 MGC. That was the original one. Then 3A is the case that I did as part of my Bamboo review video. So that was Rev 2. That's like a full case with like buttons and everything. And then the new one that I'm working on is case, well, the files aren't here yet, but this is the one that has like the SD card door and everything else. And I might have buttons on the front of this one as well, because I think it's actually easier to make buttons than to try to like attach that D-pad to that post. But I haven't finished that yet, but I have like what, 2 months? So I got 2 months to finish that. Ha ha ha. Hey, I made the whole Bud game in like 2 months, like 2 months of like evenings. So I can surely finish designing a case in 2 months. Can you hear me over the army of 3D printers that are printing in the background? I don't know. Yeah, I'm printing more of these cases using the Creality Cave one. The, what's the other one called? The Bamboo X1C Carbon. Alright, so this is what the front of the case is going to look like. I'm going to print these in a variety of colors so people can mix and match and make whatever they want. Yeah, but I added these small little tabs here, so you've got your A, B, C buttons. So they kind of go in those tabs. That should prevent it, well, wait, it not should prevent it, it will prevent it from being inserted in the wrong orientation. And then we can just give it a little bit of farmer love there. Just hit it with the edge. And now it'll be there until the end of time. Yes, that will be in place when the pyramids are dust. I wonder where this kit I'm holding will be when the sun envelops the earth in 6 billion years. Well, 6 billion years from now, this will probably be, you know, it'll just like revert into its primordial form. I don't think a PLA will last that long. So here's the D-pad post. I'm gonna put that in place. Same dealio. It's got a little bit of a slit in the back, so get a little bit of love. I guess more love than that. Misguided and unloved. They called them the foot. Now you know we've got to make the perfect sandwich. Put that there. Just a little bit of hot glue, not too much, just a little bit on the edges. You don't want to. One of the reasons like you might want to use just a little bit of hot glue is if you screw something up and then you need to reposition it, it makes it a lot easier. I don't want those wires to get too close to the hole. Preparation H feels good on a hole. I am calling it the Alan Parsons Project. I'm surprised they haven't crawled back to that franchise. I mean, Mike Myers doesn't need to, but the studio is probably like, oh, what do we got? What's something people have heard of? Spice Girls? Austin Powers? Here's the back piece. Here's the reset and program button. They're printed in such a way so that they can print without overhang. So the squarish portion, not the sloped portion, the squarish portion should face the circuit board. So I should be able to snap that over that peg. Tight fit, but let's make it tighter. Circuit boards that fit well are tight. So we'll fold this guy in like that. Then we get this. Make sure these click. They do. Well, the newer version of this has larger holes, so I might have to drill these out. But what, 1/2-inch screws? I'll double check the file afterwards. Let's ream this with a 2.5mm bit. Because when you build something like this, you only want the threads to catch on one side of the plastic. Because on the slip side, or whatever you want to call it, see, they should just go through just like that. Yeah, that was 2.5mm. It's probably like 2.75 in the file to account for plastic expansion. Get my sonic screwdriver. And of course I bought at Menards. The song is save big money at Menards, but the reality is spend all your money at Menards, especially if you are into like home repair. Well, why wouldn't you be into home repair? Well, maybe you have an HOA. I think Jordan Peele should make a
a horror movie about HOAs being evil and it could be called HOA, it would be like Rosemary's Baby meets the Burbs. HOAs are basically the mob for Karens. Go ahead and put that on a bumper sticker. Yeah, I think this hole needs to be a little narrower, so I'm going to adjust that. So I'll probably adjust this file before I print more of these. Yeah, there we go. Nice. Okay, so this is the reset button and the download button. So the reset, that works. And it's flush. Nice. And then for emulation, there you go. There's your SD card slot. Since I printed this, I did adjust the file so this door can open a little bit further. Operation. I bet I'd be really good at that game now, after decades of soldering. Not the best color combination, but the goal was to show you how it's done, not how to make it look pretty. This one looks kind of cool. This is Hatchbox stone PLA. Well, there was a bed issue there. See how it was like not as flat? And I forgot to do the overhang on this part. I made this part a little tighter too. Oh, maybe a little too tight. Okay, cool. That diameter is good. And the door opened a little too far that time, didn't it? I might have made these a little too aggressive, in which case they break as you're inserting it. I'll try giving it a little love with my soldering iron. Then I'll give it a little bit of TLC with my hot glue gun. Isn't there a group called TLC? Am I misremembering that? They're the ones who are like, what a man, what a man, what a man, what a mighty good man. Was that them? Leave a comment below. Well, there you go. The assembly video for the 2024 model Gamebadge Rev 3B with circuit boards sponsored by PCBWay. Again, I'd like to thank PCBWay for making those circuit boards for us and also stuffing them with parts, surface mount parts that will save us time when we have the workshop. So yeah, finally did a project with PCBWay after many years of them asking about it. So yeah, thank you PCBWay. And I guess we'll see you in about 2 months. No, not even. Yeah, probably about 6 weeks. Yeah, 6 weeks in MGC in Milwaukee. All right, well, this has Ben with the Gamebadge signing out. PCBWay.
And once again, I'd like to thank PCBWay for sponsoring this project. I sent them all the files, and they sourced the parts, and they sent me back completed circuit boards. This will save us a lot of time on the day when we do this workshop. So thanks again, PCBWay. Again, there's a link in the description below if you'd like to start your own project at PCBWay.